Hi everyone, welcome to the session. My name is Sarah Parkinson. I'm an educational psychologist for Newham. This is the first in a series of 6 webinars that we're running between September and January. And it stems from research that was completed in 2007 by Stephen Hobfall, who identified 5 principles that can be used to guide and inform interventions and prevention during a crisis. So these are safety, sense of efficacy, connectedness, calm, and hopefulness. So we're using this as a framework to support the schools to reflect during this transition period. The session today is about safety. So what is it? Why is it important? And then ideas about how to continue to build a sense of safety in schools at this time. So what do we mean by a sense of safety? Safety is a human need for security to remain safe from harm. Generally in life, and especially at times of challenge in particular, people want order, predictability, and control. So a sense of safety comes from a combination of 2 things. Firstly, our objective reality, so how safe we actually are, and then our perceived reality, how safe we think we are. So physical safety is obviously very relevant to this pandemic because it's about our own health and the health of our families and friends. Emotional safety develops when the environment and people in it are trustworthy, friendly, cooperative, and open to hearing the thoughts, feelings, and sharing ideas together. So children need to feel a sense of relatedness and connection to others to be able to feel safe. So things going on in the background can impact on our sense of emotional safety. So, for example, negative news, misinformation, and other factors can cause our perception of threat to persist. And particularly right now, given that the current threat levels of COVID are constantly fluctuating and we're having to adapt to that, it's really important to make the school environment a safe and welcoming place where safety is priority, both emotional and physical. So the 2 main reasons why safety is so useful and helpful is that it helps to reduce the impact of our biological responses of threats to safety. So it helps to calm our fight, flight, and freeze response. It also helps us to keep thinking flexibly and openly, to keep a balanced perspective and avoid catastrophizing or panic. One way we can think about how safe we feel is through something called the window of tolerance. This was created by Dan Siegel as a way of reflecting on emotional regulation and the factors that influence it. What it shows us is that everyone has a zone of optimal functioning, or a window of tolerance, where we're calm but not tired or lethargic. We're alert but not anxious. We can cope with challenges that we need to face. So it's sometimes known as the Goldilocks Zone. Everyone has a window of tolerance, and everyone can be pushed outside of their window of tolerance. So this can be in the above region, which is known as hyperarousal, where our fight and flight responses are activated. We might feel anxious, overwhelmed, aggressive, frustrated, or we might show impulsive behavior, or we can be pushed into hypoarousal, which is our freeze response, where we might feel disconnected with what's happening around us, not fully present, just generally lethargic and low. Given the current context of COVID-19, where the level of threat is changing regularly, it's likely that everyone's sense of safety and security will fluctuate. This means that it's more likely that we as adults and children are going to be pushed outside of our comfort zone or our window of tolerance. It's therefore our job to try to support ourselves and children to aim to help them stay within their window of tolerance. So that leads us on to thinking about ideas to try to support children and adults to stay within their window of tolerance. So firstly, we can think about physical safety and how to support that. So first and foremost, thinking about routines in school and how well these routines are established. particularly routines related to safety. So, for example, hand washing, hand sanitizing, mask wearing where appropriate, things like routines around the school day, arrival times, parents picking up children, that kind of thing. So just reflecting on those routines, could they be tighter or better established? Could they be done in a fun way? For example, having like a song that plays when it's time to carry out a certain routine, or could you pair the children up? So having a safety check buddy, for example, so that they can monitor each other and check in with each other. Beyond the school day, thinking about how our routines and safety information communicated with parents. So, for example, putting information about risk assessments and procedures in school on their website, sending letters home because not all parents are checking the internet, sending pictures and videos home. For example, one school, I believe, sent a video of their children engaging in routines around safety to reassure their parents that it was happening in school and they were taking it seriously. I suppose flexibility, accepting that children, particularly children with SEND, might need really regular risk assessments doing and then responding accordingly to this. So accepting that within the constantly changing guidelines, we might need to adapt the risk assessments and make sure they are up to date. Educating, so giving the children opportunities to share information and knowledge about how to stay safe with other people, either in the school, in their homes, or in the community. So, for example, making posters, sharing information with their parents, maybe leaflets, making a video, making a song, different creative ways of giving the children an opportunity to take control and share what they're learning with other people. And then finally, but probably most importantly, modelling. So it's really important that adults in school are prioritising modelling and showing the children how important it is to carry out safety routines and taking it seriously. So thinking now about ideas for emotional safety. So I suppose first and foremost, start with yourself and with the staff. And we can use the window of tolerance as a tool for ourselves to think and reflect about what are the things that push us out of our window of tolerance and what are the things that help us to remain in that Goldilocks zone. The idea is that a calm staff and a safe staff, that ethos will filter down the school to the children. We can also ask wider questions about the mechanisms that are in place for staff to feel safe emotionally. So things like staff supervision, having a wellbeing buddy, having ways of raising concerns or sharing ideas should they arise. Similarly, it can be helpful to get the children to think about their own emotional well-being and check in with themselves regularly about where they are and how they can try to keep in a space where they're regulated and calm. So the window of tolerance is one approach, whereas I know that one approach in school that's quite often used is the zones of regulation. We can help children to stay in touch with their bodies and their minds by checking in with strategies such as the zones of regulation, and through, if they do notice that they're dysregulated or becoming either hyper or hypo-aroused, we can encourage them to take action against that. So, for example, things like building in movement activities such as walking, running, yoga, breathing, tapping, drumming, dancing into the school day regularly so that they have that opportunity to regulate themselves, or taking part in activities like mindfulness as a way of checking in with themselves physically and mentally. Predictability. This pandemic has thrown so much uncertainty at us, and it can be this uncertainty that causes anxiety. So what we want is to try to establish and re-establish that predictability to make the environment safe. We want to be open about changes, so what is different and why, and we want these changes to be supported through visuals, such as visual timetables, checklists, anything that reinforces what you're saying and gives a visual check for children. We also want to give clear messages about the curriculum and kind of what the expectations are related to the curriculum, whether there's going to be a focus on a recovery curriculum in the near future or what the expectations are generally. As well as being open about changes, we also want to be clear about some of the things that have remained the same. So it's the same school, the same building, the same staff, the same ethos and same values, just obviously a shift in the situation. Normalising emotions by accepting whatever the emotion is can be a powerful way of helping children to listen to their own feelings and not disregard them or dismiss them. So even if you think that a child's reaction seems overblown or irrational, we can accept and empathise with the emotion itself simply by saying something like, "Oh, right, so you're saying you feel that way. I didn't realise that's how you were feeling." So we can accept the emotion. That doesn't necessarily mean we accept the behaviour that might come with it, but we can accept the emotion and say what we're saying to the child is, the way you're feeling is valid. So during the pandemic, everyone's safety has been threatened in different ways. We can help children to think directly about the things that build their resilience. So this is a nice activity called the Shield of Strength, which is a way of helping children to think quite concretely about the things and the resources in their lives that help them to be strong in times of challenge. Finally, as part of a recovery curriculum, we can adopt a trauma-informed lens, which at a basic level means a shift in the mindset of how we see a child. So the question, "What's wrong with you?" becomes, "What have your experiences been that have led you to act in this way?" And through that approach, it gives us an opportunity to reflect more and empathise with the child's experiences, which can be helpful in terms of moving the situation forwards. So what I've shared with you today is just a few different ways of promoting safety at this time in school. We're now going to have some time to reflect on what I've said and also to hear about some of the good practice that has been going on in your schools, because I'm sure that there's a lot of other strategies as well that would be valuable to hear about. Just to say thanks for listening, and also just wanted to acknowledge Beacon House as providing the resource of the window of tolerance. Okay, thanks everyone. Bye.